Greetings, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Are we starting, James, or are you going on Facebook? Are you doing the Facebook Live?
No. It's all good. It's all good. I've tried to send it to Facebook. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Simple.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today at 10 a.m. on a Thursday. We have an action-packed show for you today. No, we have two topics we're going to talk about, and the third one was going to be just like a live Q&A type party thing, because we couldn't think of a third topic. So let's see what happens. If anyone has any topics they want us to discuss in detail, here's your opportunity to tell us, and we'll do it as the third point. James, 𝗵𝗲.
Yes, sir.
What's the latest? So today, just for people who are listening to this later, it's Thursday, the 7th of May. I'm sure you'll edit this and get this out in sort of 4 weeks, which is your normal SLA right now. You're like a mortgage company.
It's in your mailbox. Have you even checked?
No, I haven't looked at my mail this morning. No, because I've been
meditating.
So, what's new with you? Don't talk about the auction, because that's our second topic.
Okay.
Otherwise, what's new with you?
Well, first of all, obviously you can see I've been to see my COVID barber, looking trim. Ted, do you want to come along to the COVID barber? You need to see the COVID barber. You do.
I listen to government sanctions, so I'm following the rules. So I think I'll pass. But thank you though.
You pass on a good day.
Good. So you got a haircut. Anything else?
Yeah. Apart from that thing that we're going to talk about later on with the auction purchase, no. Some leeway with the landlord the agent who's being a bit of an arsehole. Now agreeing to hand over the house, but obviously he wants some kind of he wants some money. Basically, he's trying to say, yes, you're going to have to give me some deposit money, this and that, and I gave you a holding deposit and all this. So it's all.
He owes you rent, so you can just say, well, you owe me rent, so we'll take it out of that.
The thing is, Ted, I don't really want to, if I start going down that route now saying, look, you owe me rent, I don't want him to start saying, look, I'm agreeing to give it back to you, or start being an arsehole. So I need to get it back in my control first of all, get that contract terminated, and then I'm going to hit him with the court claim after that.
Have you spoken to the RLA about like the contract, and if you can just escape it, because it's not really, because just because a contract you've signed it and it has terms in it doesn't mean they're legally enforceable, right? You can put whatever you want, doesn't mean it can be enforced. So have you checked if that contract is even?
Yes, I used landlord services, and their solicitor checked it over, and they did say, look, this is a very bad contract, like we all knew anyway. Secondly, he said it's very heavy towards them, and you're going to have to pretty much abide by it. So
okay, fine, as long as someone's. We
did have Ayaz on this group. He's actually joined us this morning, so he drafted me up a deed of termination, which has been sent through to him. I sent it with EverSign, because I thought EverSign is good because it will give me a ping when they've opened the email, even if they haven't signed it, because then that way they can't say to me, oh, I haven't checked it, I haven't done this, I didn't receive it. So yeah, I've sent that to them. I'm hoping they sign it. And that's me out of that contract, and then I suppose I have to deal with it after, because the thing that worries me the most is I was on a Zoom call with John from Town Planning Expert, and somebody on there, a lady who deals with issues such as this, she said to me, look, James, one thing you've got to be really, really careful is if something happens to any one of those tenants, you're ultimately liable. So you need to try and get that property in your control as soon as possible, so that if something ends up happening, or you can address any issues. Now, I know there's issues in that house, so it's really, really worrying me that I want to get it back, because obviously if something happens, I don't want to go to prison, or still be up in court.
These agents you used are just despicable. Like, I hope when you take them good, boy, and you take them everything, because, just disgusting people, man, to be honest. And, okay.
Sharks, man.
Proper sharks, mate. Sharks. So, what's new with me? I'll ask myself, because after 5 episodes, you never ask me. So I feel like the unloved partner.
What's going on in the world of Teginal?
Oh, thank you for, I never thought you'd ask me. Well, I'm on my last batch of homemade bread. There's no more wholemeal in the shops or in the house, so it's a bit peak. Rent has been paid in full, albeit sort of one day and the next, because of some bank issue. I have one, I'm waiting on a second half of it, which is due in tomorrow. And another one has got his job and he's paying it. So another month of rent, which is great. I also have a service accommodation, which when this hit, I was just like, cool, I'll just pay the bridger and just lose money every month, whatever. But my management company, big up, just secured a 28-day booking, bringing in £1,440 as the turnover, with a contractor. So there's less cleans. In fact, I don't know how many cleans there'll be, if any. I don't know how. I'm not bothered how it works. So the payout from that, I think, should be about 800 to me, maybe a little bit more. Which then you got mortgage or bridge, and then you got bills. It's a lot better than a buy to let. So I'm pretty happy that, like, in this sort of period where people aren't really out and about, my essay's got someone in 28 days and they've paid and it's non-refundable. I mean, that's the next month kind of sorted. So that's good news. Good news on that front. Otherwise, yeah, Corona is Corona. And bounce back loans, if anyone hasn't heard of these loans, James, do you want to tell them, because have you got the money from yours, or where are you?
I haven't at the moment, no, but I did get a text message last night saying that you'll be paid in 24 hours. So we got
Thanks for texting now. Wow.
Yeah. So we got a few limited companies, and we put one through on the first one, and I think we applied for about £35,000. We thought, it's low rate money. If we can get it, why not? Let's just have it. So we
interest free for a year,
yeah. So we put that through, and we also put it through on another company, I think, which was about £45,000. So again, I'd rather have it sitting in the bank account knowing I can service that loan anyway, because if something comes along, if a deal comes along, I don't really want to be thinking, oh shit, man, I wish I'd taken that money, or I wish I had that money so I could use it.
Yeah, and I think we're never going to have interest free for a year and then 2.5% afterwards that gets approved like that, and is literally in your, like, I know people who applied on Monday and they had the money yesterday. So we're never going to have money like this before. If anyone doesn't know what it is, just have a look on Google.gov, loads of information. But basically, I mean, it is based on turnover. So
the form is ridiculous. It's just like one form. So put your account number in, put your sort code in, how much do you turn over, your company name, your company number, and how much you want, and submit. And literally that was it, man. And I couldn't believe it. And then about 2 hours later, you get a contract come through, which you sign and send back. And then they say, yeah, we're going to pay you money in 24 hours. You think, damn, as easy as that.
It's mad. And I think also, but two things to note. One, if you have banks like Starling, Monzo Business, Tide Business, you're potentially going to have issues. Starling are in the process of, I think they're this close to getting authorized to give the money, or to take applications. Tide, who knows what's happening, but they put a blog out saying, yeah, we're working on it. And then Monzo Business, I love Monzo, but I have no idea. They don't really give accounts to property investors anyway, so it may not be an issue, but it is based on turnover. So if you've just started in property, or if you've got like a few buy-to-lets and stuff, your turnover is not huge. If you've got like a rent-to-SA portfolio, or you can do projected turnover, Aaron said.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm thinking a mil this year, innit, with my 12 buy-to-lets. Yeah, a mil, 12 buy-to-lets equals mil. Yeah, of course. Everyone knows that. Yeah, my buy-to-lets are in Chelsea, so obviously, yeah, fine. Great. That's good. You can do projected turnover. So obviously, be realistic. I thought it was only actual as of 2019, but mate, I'm gonna get off this call and start applying then. Great. So that's
on the back of that. Sorry, on the back of those Monzo and Tide and all that. If I remember right, about 8 weeks ago, you were taking a piss at me, and you were saying, "Oh, James, you're still using those old high street banks, them shit ones where it takes so long to get an account. Do this, do that." Your words were, "You need to get on this Tide stuff and this Starling." So look, I've got my Tide and Starling here. I ain't never used them, and I'm so glad I didn't listen to you on that, because Mans was able to go on and get his loan, whereas you are still sitting there scratching your ass waiting, right? Hang your head in shame, boy.
Yes. When the government wants to give money, who do they give it to? The corrupt money laundering banks. Great. Lovely. But when it actually comes to usability, who's better? We know who's better, yeah? So you can just sit back down, yeah?
I'm seeing.
Good. thought you were standing. Right. So, yes, there is a point there that maybe just generally keep one big old school account just to for times like this, the once every decade it happens, it's worth having an account. But HSBC, I think they are one of the few who are allowing non-account holders to do it. So potentially, like I'm probably gonna apply to them for my one with Tide, because they're just not, they're taking the piss, right? So James, should we move on to our first topic of the morning, not the evening, the morning?
Yeah, let's go for it, man.
So the topic, the title of this essay, the hypothesis for this discussion, is the dark side of social media and haters. Obviously, everyone saw me and James in the satin white Bentley. It was an orange interior, or flame. What do they call it in the Bentley dealership, darling? Like flame orange or something. Saying "fuck the haters." If you haven't seen that picture, go see it, because like it's real life. If you think it's photoshopped, then yeah, like if you think it's photoshopped, leave this chat, because you're a hater if you think it's photoshopped. Yeah, haters will say it's photoshopped, right? So James, when I say the dark side of social media, what comes to mind instantly for you?
Do you know what? I think there's a lot of people out there that you got supportive people that really love your journey, people that support you, people that say great things. And then you've always got that one dick or a group of little dicks that just sit there and they want to criticize you, man. And they want to just try and fucking get you for every little thing. So like for yourself the other week, what happened when this, I'm not, obviously, like you said, I'm not going to name any names, but this was bad, man. This hate just started with one post and just went, and even when it was removed, the hate still continued. And it was like, let's get that post back up and just gun this guy down some more. And obviously, anyone who knows you knows what you're doing, and you're doing it on, you're doing it on a level. What you're achieving is good. And this guy's going on saying, how can this guy have so many charges on his company? He's just taking money from other people and scamming them. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I hope he ain't scamming anyone, because he's had some money off me. But my point being, there's always that small minority that hate. And do you know what I found over the years? It's not just on social media. You might even have it in your friend circle. You think your friend circle's so tight, but there'll be that one person in your group who's constantly hating. And you can normally tell who it is. They don't like any of your posts. You look at your posts, they view your video, but there'll be no comment, there'll be no love, there'll be no nothing, nothing to say, you know what, Tez, that video was fucking blinding, man. I love what you did there. Love the graphics, love this. Come on, man. You can tell when someone's done something good. Reach out and support them, uplift them. Don't be a dick and just not do it, What's up with you? Support.
I think, that post was quite funny, because I think anyone who can do a bit of basic DD can look at Companies House for anyone, and can look at the accounts, the filing history, the charges, the people, Companies House. I'll be honest, it doesn't give you a great insight. You can still be buying loads of houses and it could be kind of empty because you're in your first year. You haven't done your accounts, so there's no balance sheet. You haven't got charges because you bought with your own cash, for example. So sometimes, it can't be useful. And sometimes you set up a limited company here and then you just set it up because, you're doing your stuff and you don't buy a house till here. And so right now you might have 50 houses, but what it shows on Companies House in your balance sheet is like 10 because of when you got them and how accounting periods work. But I think a lot of people are just too thick to realize the basics of company due diligence. And look, I'm not going to say, oh, it's easy, everyone should get it. But there's a lot of people who will say, you know what, I don't get it. Can you tell me? How do I work this out? Let me go on Google. But then there's the thick half who are just like, oh, it must be that. Yeah. If this property trainer's doing it, then they're doing it. She's doing it. He's doing it. And they just don't take but basically it's like, there's this group on Facebook, and I think it used to be quite, I don't know if it's a positive, but it used to be a positive force for kind of exposing these training, these marketing techniques. It was a bit like what's his name? Guy from Warrington does. What's his name? Fucking had him on podcast.
Win It.
That's Yorkshire. Win It, that's it. Yeah. It's what Win It does. I can't even do Manchester's too hard. Money. And he does it in such a way that's like, quite funny and like interesting. This group was a bit more of like, oh hi, we're all the Jesus messiahs of property investment. We've got one property each, and we're going to teach you all why people are scammers. And then it got worse and worse. And recently it's become basically like a witch hunt. And I think I kind of compare this group to like the Daily Mail comment section. I don't know if anyone's ever been bored enough to read them, but I implore you just to see how some people live and speak. Look at the Daily Mail comment section for like some gossipy story, right? It's just a lot of small-minded people who have their own worldview and perception of things, that comment on things that they think they can't achieve, but they absolutely could if they changed their worldview. So it's like you have groups of people like this and they flock together, right? Birds of a feather, James?
Flock together.
Exactly. So that's what happens. Just like if you joined, like if you were hanging out with 𝗪𝗏, would he be hanging out with like, you know, someone who's not a super high achiever? Never, right? So it's the same thing. You hang out with certain people, they're going to hang out with certain people. So I think you have to be careful, like where you put your mind, right? Like when it comes to Facebook groups, there's some who are great and there's some who are okay. And there's some who are just like straight up terrible. And I think you have to protect your mental health. Like at the start, join all of them, comment, you know, engage with them. But after time, you'll be like, this group is that kind of people or that kind of people. And sometimes you'll see certain comments, like the one you mentioned about me, there was no sort of substance. It was just like, hey, everyone, here's this guy. He better come and prove himself to me, you know, because I'm like, I've got a million. I was like, bruv, who are you? And if you can't research Company's House, then you literally mean nothing. Like, why would I want to prove myself to you? So I think, you know, have you, like, are there certain areas, James, that you have maybe, when I say areas, I mean friends or groups or people that you've kind of said, nah, I'm good. I'm not chatting to you anymore.
Yeah, some of my closest friends. So, or used to be my closest friends, and I'm a big promoter of this, man. I think everybody needs to have a Facebook clear out once a year or twice a year. Go through your Facebook and get rid of people that ain't uplifting you, inspiring you, or making you a better person. Because I think your social media should be all about what you want to open up your feed and you want to be motivated. You don't want to open up your feed and think, oh man, there's Jackie down the road again moaning about her husband drinking beer and beating the shit out of the dog. You don't want to hear about that shit. I don't want to hear about that shit. There was a time when I had to take my mum off my Facebook feed, you know, because I didn't like what was going on there, you know, or family members. Family members are the worst, bruv. I have it now. I have so many requests from distant cousins, and I think, nah, I'm not having you on there, because when I see you at a family event, you're just going to talk shit. You're going to chat so much shit about what we're doing in property. So I'm not interested. I don't want you on there. So I think one thing you can do first of all is you can control your social media feed. Yeah. What I mean by that is, when you open up Facebook in the morning, when you open up Instagram in the morning, or in the middle of the night, for some of you sad people that wake up in the night and think, oh, let me have a quick scroll. Yeah. You want to see good stuff. You don't want to see bad shit. So take off all that nonsense of, you know, I'm not dissing Forex traders, or a Forex trader on there blinging up his 10K watch. He's done 3 posts. He's got 60,000 followers. And you think that guy's going to make you financially free. Get rid of it, because you know it's bollocks. But part of your mind's telling you, oh, it might be real. I might be able to achieve this, so I'll give him a 10 grand check. It's not right. Get rid of it. So what I do is, a couple of times a year, I will go through my feeds first of all and get rid of all the nonsense. I call it noise. You want to get rid of all the noise, and you want all the good stuff on your feed. Because who was I talking to about? I was talking to someone about social media. Actually, I was talking to Josh about social media, and Josh was saying the same thing. It can make you feel it can make you feel positive. It can make you feel negative. It's the way you look at it. So, number one, get rid of the hate on the social, because you're going to see that daily, because social is such a big part of your life. Number two, look at your friend circle. I said this so many times. If you are the brightest person in your group or your circle, you need a new circle, man, because you can't be hanging around with wastes. It's simple as. You got one life. You're probably going to live till 80 if you're lucky. One life, yeah? So make sure you're living it, man. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are uplifting, like this group here. For example, everybody's here for a reason, because they want to learn about property. They want to be uplifted. You know, I'm sure there's no haters in here. Not that I can see anyway. Oh, I know we were getting a little bit of hate from Shaz earlier on with his he was yawning, man. He was yawning at us. We're going to have to take up with this guy later on.
Mate, he sent me a picture when you came late and he was like, where are you? It's 1 minute past 10.
He's still on time from Pakistan, man. He needs to tune his watch back to the UK.
He is.
But getting back to that point of talking about haters. Now, last week I was with a big baller on Friday. A big baller, yeah? This guy is a multi-millionaire. Now, I was there. I had a meeting with him at his offices. But this place was bling. Like, I mean, total bling. I walk in there and I'm sitting there. First of all, the security guard comes up to me, makes me hand sanitize, puts a mask on, like he's protecting me from the big Don upstairs. And it was surreal. This building was surreal. These guys have an online business that does £100 million. Then they have designer clothing for children. And the guy's got a £2 million Ferrari outside, And I walked in this place. There ain't no hate, man. I'm there thinking, what do I need to do to be doing what this guy is doing here? This guy's plus 50 years old. He's got the physique of a 20-year-old. He looks so good. He's got a gym in his office where he trains twice a day. He has an MMA trainer come and train him. He has a kitchen where his food's prepared. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't hate on a guy like this, man. You learn from a guy like this. And when I told some people who I was with, some narrow-minded people, they're like, bruv, that guy's a scammer, man. He used to sell heroin back in the day. You don't know about his dad. His dad used to bring heroin over in a suitcase on a boat. And you're thinking, why are you hating, man? Go do some
we all did that. Like, of course, man.
Why are you hating? I'm thinking to myself, why are you hating on this guy? Just because the guy's got like a £10 million car collection, he lives in a £10 million house, he's grafted for it. And it's only when you sit with someone like that in their company, the aura around this guy. I was lucky to spend an hour with him in his office. Now, let me tell you something. His office is the blingest office. £25,000 custom-made desk. That's wealth, man. That's some serious...
How much for the desk?
£25,000 for the desk.
What material was it?
There was parts of marble in it, parts of gold in it. But you know what? This was very stylish, Tej. It wasn't like cheap shit. This was really nicely done. And then my man's got like hidden built-in wardrobes in his room, and he's pressing part of the wall. It's coming away. It's got his suit jackets. It's got his sportswear. And I'm thinking,
that's lit.
For a minute, I'm thinking, no, this guy's bragging. And I'm thinking, no, he's not. He's trying to make me realize how he thinks. So he was like, James, I spend a lot of time here. I have my suits if I need to go to a meeting. I have my sportswear if I need to go and train in my gym. I have everything here within arm's length that I need to be the most productive I can be. And what I really love about how his office is positioned, when he looks out of his window, he sees his cars, and how can that not be a driving force for someone who's a massive Ferrari fan? The guy's daily car is a flipping G-Wagon, and you think, this is a serious one. It was an AMG thing, probably a couple of $100 grand, and you're thinking, this is next level. I walked out of that place buzzing out of my head thinking, this ain't about hate, man. You can't hate on wealthy people or really successful people. These people should be lifting you up, man. You should be there thinking, damn, he done it. He started selling jeans on a market store and look where he is now. I can do exactly the same damn thing. So I say, coming back to my point of saying your circle, get rid of the shit in your circle, because there's going to be haters in your own circle. There's going to be haters in your family circle. I don't like going to certain family events because I know I've got to talk the same shit with the uncles. My kid's doing this. My son's a waste man. I hate my job. I've started to drink too much. I've got cholesterol. I'm going to get diabetes. I'm going to die. I was like, bruv, you just killed me off in 5 minutes. Like, you just talking. I feel dead talking to you now. I feel deflated. My personality just gone down like this. I'm not interested. Get me the hell out of here. That's why me and my wife have so much beef sometimes when I don't turn up at a wedding. And she goes, you're so rude. You don't talk to anyone. I said, I'm protecting my space. This space here, I want to protect. I don't want to let fucking shit into my head.
That's a good point, and I think Mohit said every Indian gathering, and yeah, it's totally true. I think you know what? I think the modern way to look at it is, and how I see it is, it doesn't matter if they're family, if they're blood, their water, whatever. If they got bad energy and they're just not changing, or they don't want to change, or they're not learning from you, then it's not your responsibility to chat and, like you said, affect your energy. So I'm totally with that, and it comes also down to people on your friends list. So when Corona hit, quite a few people, oh my God, 5G is causing it, wearing a fucking colander on their head, like protecting foil on their ears. Like, I just unfollowed these people. And then people who were like, oh, heads up, everyone. We're about to hit a Great Depression. I've got no statistics or facts, but heads up, it's coming. I was like, who the unfollow? I block sometimes. I'm like, I don't even want the energy to ever coincide. I just want the circles to be separate. So I think, like, on the point of online though, you know, when you, and I guess it's like with cousins talking shit. Actually, no, hold on. To make a point about the guy you met, I followed him on Instagram, and mainly because of his cars and his house. But I commented as well. A man replied to me, you know, big dogs out here. But
that's because I told him about you.
What did you say? I got this dickhead called Ted.
No, he's saying, what you're up to. I said, we do this show, you should come on it. It'd be really nice to have you on. I guess who to do that with. Yeah. The guy's just phenomenal, man. He's phenomenal.
He seems like, and the stories you've told me seem incredible. And like, I think like 99% of actual entrepreneurs would feel the same way you did and be like, how do I get this? How, you know, asking him the questions and like putting that on your kind of vision board of, that's what I want to achieve. It doesn't have to be the materialistic things. It could just be his lifestyle of being able to do whatever the hell he wants. And actually he doesn't, because he loves his job. And so like, there's a lot of people who don't see it like that. And I think I get their view, right? It's like, oh, look at all these scammers who are using social media for bad things and for negative things. So they kind of say, oh, well, they're bad, they're lying. Therefore, you know, this woman is lying, is bad because they are, and because they just can't believe it's possible. But then if they walked into your mate's house, I think they'd have a meltdown because they just wouldn't get it, right? But the thing is, right, when you're online and when you're building a brand, you know, we always talk about building a brand, paying attention to the details. You are going to potentially have some haters who are saying, oh, this person hasn't got any houses. Why have they even got a YouTube channel? Oh, they did one viewing and now they're trying to help people about how much it costs to relay carpets. And it's like, yeah, they're trying to help, which is the total opposite of you fuckwit. Do you know what I mean? So I think like you have to just understand, if you're going to build a brand, if you're going to be out there and you are going to like be honest, which you should, people are going to hate on that and judge you off their worldview. So you might achieve something and think that wasn't enough. That was normal. But then what will happen is someone will come along with a different view and say, nah, you couldn't have done that without cheating or lying. Or I had an email, yeah, and this is kind of what you mentioned there, from some guy on my mailing list. Let me check if he's in here or not, because I'll just call him out if he is. No, he's not. So I had an email from this person. It was in response to my mailers, yeah, like my weekly, daily mailers. Couldn't find this person on social media, I don't think. Anyways, send out my mailer, I get a response. Why have you got 16 charges on company's house? Are you scamming people out of money? and I wrote a response, and I haven't sent it because it's not rude. It could have been. It's not rude, but because I don't give a shit. But also, secondly, if you don't understand what a charge is and how it's the total opposite of scamming and how it actually gives people the highest level of security that you can get, then you're stupid. Why are you messaging me dumb things? Like, you have to be ruthless in situations like this, because it's just like, look, I could email back and say, FYI, here's what a charge is, linked to gov.uk. Here's what it means. Any further questions, brackets, you prick. But what's the point? Because you don't have to prove yourself to people like this. You have to look after your reputation, right? And, you know, that means in certain situations, you may have to reply with a generic, here's what this is, that's what this is. Any more questions, you can email me with my solicitor and CC. Just be careful what you say, because it could be considered libel, or what's the other one? Libel and slander. So I think sometimes you have to just take that kind of approach of, I'm not getting involved. Because the second you go in there and say, what, bruv? How you don't even know what, blah, blah, blah. They're going to do the same thing to you. And then you're going to go back and forth. 40 comments later, you both look stupid and no one's won. Both your egos are damaged and angry, and you haven't got anywhere. So when it comes to dealing with haters, you kind of have to do that. But there was a question in here, James, from, I think it was from Aaron, about, okay, how do you differentiate between like someone hating on you and actually calling out the truth? I have my views on it, but what do you think, James?
That's a really, really good question, man.
Hmm.
I think if someone was calling out the truth on me, I'd like to think that they would message me, you know, outside of social media and say, hey, James, I just wanted to check this with you. This doesn't really add up, or this doesn't really add up. But that's a good question, Aaron. You've thrown me there a little bit, man. Would I be able to? Yeah, you go for it, man. You go for it.
I think for me, right, every bit of feedback or every bit of hate has a bit of feedback. You know how there's a saying about jokes. They say, like, in truth we jest. So whenever we make a joke, often there's a bit of truth. You know, me and James take the piss out of each other. There's a little bit of truth behind it, like, or it's something that we can, you know, see. It's the same thing with hate. Like, sometimes with hate, like, there's feedback in it. So the first thing, which I kind of missed before, is when someone makes a comment, I'm like, okay, there was no tact there. You were rude. Let's take off that wrapper of inability to be polite. What did you actually say? And it's like, you know what? Is that true? And if it is true, then act on it. Or if you're unsure, ask someone. Say, look, James, someone sort of said this about me, but really, is that part true? You know, do you think I need to change that or alter that? And go off that. Because nowadays, especially like British people, very politically correct. They don't want to give feedback. They don't want to criticize. So, like, I've been asking for feedback on my podcast for years, and I've got it from 5-6 people out of, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of listeners. So it's like, people do not give feedback. So haters, you know, you should be grateful because they can give you good feedback. I think like, you have to take that feedback, internalize it, act on it, reflect on it, or remove it, and then get rid of them. Because if people aren't saying it in the right way, like, you know, do you think someone would walk up to you at a networking event, yeah, and be like, oh, I think you're a lying scammer, and I don't believe you've done what you've done. Prove it to me. Like, no one is brave enough or stupid enough to do that, but yet they do it behind a keyboard. I mean, you got
keyboard warrior.
So you got to think, hold on, if you're not telling me this in a DM and you're trying to ruin my reputation, you know, your feedback is not necessarily that important, but I'll still consider it. But I think Aaron's also kind of furthered his question and said, the reason I ask is because I can call out truths, but I don't want to come across like a hater. So it's a fine line of standing up for others at the risk of looking like a hater. Yes, 100%. And I think you're always going to be on that, like, line. You're always going to be at risk, and someone's always going to think you're a hater, and someone's going to think you're a savior. So I think it really is context dependent. But Aaron, I think the way you do it is good, because, you know, if I read your posts, do I know who you're talking about? If you mention like a certain thing, not really, you know, like, and I'm quite active and like I see a lot, but I still, you know, I don't know who you're talking about. And for me, that means that, okay, that's not hate, it's learning. So let's say this trainer did this and you then converted it into your post and said, here's how to avoid being scammed by a property trainer. Here's 3 tips. Even if those 3 tips are like only what, you know, a few trainers do, I don't think people are going to say, you must be talking about X, Y, Z. I think they're just going to say, great tips. And so I think it's all about doing it as here's some tips, purely objective, you know, and I think as you kind of do, you chuck in a little bit of emotion, you know, like, this is wrong or this is immoral or something like that to get the hook, but then put the tips. Videos, text, whatever it is, however you want to communicate it, just don't, like, because this certain Facebook group that hopefully most of us know we're talking about, they will just drop names in. I've seen videos dropped in of people I know, and I know these people and what they're doing, and I respect what they're doing. Aaron, you're probably next, and Ruby, you're probably next as well. And they just chuck in a name and say, dickhead, prove yourself to me. And these people haven't done much to be proven to. If it was like a big dog, you know, if it was like the 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗍𝗍, then I'd be like, okay, bro, please, let me prove myself. But it's not. So Aaron, that's what I say. You know, you're pretty much doing it anyway. But I hope that helps other people as well. James, have you formulated an answer?
No, not really.
That's fine. I think hopefully, Aaron, that helps, and hopefully everyone else that helps. James, when it comes to, like, in your past as a print extraordinaire, as someone who was almost in Asian Wealth magazine, big up, have you ever experienced hate to the point where you where it emotionally affected you?
Yeah, I think it does. In the early days, man, it does. Because you think to yourself, I'm hustling here, man. I'm working so damn hard to build something. You people don't realize I ain't spending time with my children. I'm not spending time with my wife. I almost missed the birth of my first son because I'm hustling to try and build a business, you know? And all you can see is, you know, I used to get a lot of hate. I'll tell you when I used to get a lot of hate. When I bought a flash car, I used to get a lot of hate from everyone. I used to get a lot of hate from my own staff, you know?
What?
And you think to yourself, yeah, even to the point I was too scared to bring the car to work because I used to think, if I bring the car to work, they're going to hate on me. They're going to think they're making me, you know that old saying when they used to say, people say, oh, you're only driving that car because of me because I worked so hard for you. No, you're not, because I didn't even buy that car through the print company. I might probably bought it through my property business. But, you know, you get a lot of hate from everybody, but people don't see the sacrifices somebody's making in the background to become a success. Come on, man. How many people would nearly miss the birth of their first child to get a job out the door? I don't think there'd be many, would there? I mean, luckily I made it. You know, I had to get my missus just say, look, babe, just hold on. I'm almost there. I'm there. I'm just coming, you know? And I remember in the early days walking around the shows, like I told you that, you know, it was a predominantly English game. And then I almost felt it at trade shows when I'd be walking around, you know, this Asian dude with a beard, and you can see those eyes, you know, those eyes looking at you at these trade shows saying, oh, there he is, that guy, trying to nick my contract, trying to nick my work, trying to do this. And I'm thinking, I ain't trying to nick your work, man. I'm trying to do a better job than you. I've got a way of talking to people. I'm giving them a better service. But, bro, you get so much hate. And then even when you're at family events, I'll tell you how much hate I used to get at family events. My cousins, they couldn't pick on me for anything apart from when there was a period in my life where I got really fat. Yeah, because I just ate and drank beer, yeah? So every time I'd go to an event or a family thing, all they would do, they couldn't pick on anything else. They couldn't pick on my clothes. They couldn't pick on my car. So they say, oh, bruv, you put on weight, ain't ya? And I'm thinking, why are you stating the obvious? I know that. I can see that. I can feel that. You know, my trousers are tight. I can feel that. But it was their only way of having that one hate on me. And you think to yourself, shit, man, they can't pick on me for anything else. What are you laughing at, bruv? You're distracting me here.
Shaz said, after you said about your flash cars, he said, all this hate James got just because of a Toyota Yaris.
I never... Did I ever have a Yaris? No, I don't think I did.
You're more of a Nissan Micra, man. I can see you in one of those.
So, you know, everybody, even your closest family members, are trying to pick on something, trying to hate on something. And it's almost like, okay, I can't pick on him for this. Let me pick on him for that. I can't pick on him for this. I'll pick on that. And you know what? My wife, she knew that used to get to me a lot because she could tell. She goes, that really affects you, doesn't it, when they call you Tubby? And I was like, yeah, of course it does. So things had to change.
I think that's a really good point. And like, you know, we all want nicer things, but then as you get nicer things, the people who don't have the right mindset, the majority of people, non-business, non-entrepreneurs, will then hate on it. And you're like, oh, so now I don't even want to like drive it because people are looking at me weird. And I always wonder, like, super rich people, do they have like certain roads they go on which don't have haters on? And then do they go from like Gerrard's Cross to Mayfair on like a non-hater road? And then they only shop in like Whole Foods in Chelsea. Like, I always wondered, when you're super rich, like, how do you roll? Do you just take your SVJ Aventador to Sainsbury's and open the door and shut the shopping in the front? Like, what do...
Let me tell you something, yeah, Ted. When I had a flash car and I had a few mates who had flash cars and had businesses, yeah. The biggest difference that I saw between me and them was my friends, or my so-called print associates, they didn't give a shit about talking to their staff like they were pieces of dirt. It really used to affect me to have a beefy conversation with a member of staff, or to tell someone off, or to tell them you've done this. I would see my mate or guys, when I'd go around to their firm, they'd walk in and say, what the fuck are you doing here, you prick? And I'm thinking, whoa, you're talking to a 50-year-old man like that who's been with you for the last 10 years. It was so ruthless. And I used to ask them, I used to think, do you not care? Like, you're rolling in a car and you got people here that you're paying bare minimum wage. He goes, I don't give a fuck. He goes, because they've got a choice to work for me on that money. There's people that are so tapped in the head, even when you got people that are very successful that don't give a fuck. They don't care about anyone but themselves. Then you've got successful people like I was with last week, who really cares about his staff, provides the, you know, the nicest kind of workplace. I mean, what boss gives you a barber in your place free of charge? Gives you a beautician, you know? You can come and have, the ladies can have their nails done, their hair done, whatever they want. That's complimentary, you know? So I think, in answer to your question, how do these people deal with it? Is there a special road or something? There isn't. They just don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck, man. Their level of respect towards their staff, I found, was so low, and they just don't give a monkeys what other people think, because they're kind of tunnel vision on achieving that success, and anybody around them could just, off you go, get out of the way. I'm not interested.
I think, you know what, it's interesting because that kind of approach reminds me of the way in which Narcos. So if anyone's seen Narcos or any sort of drug trafficking thing, great business people, but obviously horrible humans, the way they treat their staff is exactly what James said. It's just no respect. It's just, you have a choice. Either you leave or you stay here or you die in Narco world, but that's different. But they just have no respect and they just give orders, and there's no company culture. And it's a culture of like domination, you know. It's a culture of ego. It's, I'm the boss and you're a prick, and end of. And that's fear, isn't it?
It's fear.
Yeah, it's fear. That's it. And you're ruling with an iron fist, and that's just not how companies should work, and that's just not how the world should work. But unfortunately, it does. People are stuck in these jobs. They feel like they haven't got a choice. They feel like it's normal, and you know, the boss can make them feel like it's normal, and then they'll never quit, and then they have loyalty, and then the boss thinks they're amazing because they've worked with me for 10 years, even though I'm a knob. And it's just interesting that there's so many people who are, you know, sort of good at business, should I say? Well, not good at business, but they have successful businesses, but they're not like good people. But there's so many people out here who struggle mentally and say, oh, I'm never going to be successful. I'm never going to do this. And they're such good people. And it's like, you will have a successful business, and you should, because you need to kick out all these old school fear-based kind of rulers. So it's interesting that you kind of put it like that. So we've got a question from Suresh, who said, I think it kind of got answered in the chat, but said he is always getting Facebook requests, and he's always added people who seem legit and are property investors to get himself more exposure and reach. Is this a bad idea? Any thoughts on that, James? Or?
I don't think it is a bad idea, because if you're looking at someone and they've sent you a request and they're kind of got mutual links, 200-300 mutual links to you have, then they're trying to be part of that network. But the minute you see that person posting shit, I think you just need to X them off and get rid of them. Simple as. You know, so I don't think there's anything wrong.
I agree. I think you have to take it on a case by case basis. So like I added someone recently who was posting some really interesting stuff about like the market and economy and stuff that I don't look at. I just get from other people who do the hard work. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And then literally 4 days after I first connected with this person, I had a call from someone who's kind of, I guess, well respected. And then a few messages from like 2 or 2 other people who basically said, yeah, he scammed us out of money. We did a JV with him. We lost, you know, under 100 grand from him. You know, he does this, he does that, he does that. And I was like, oh, I didn't really care, because I was like, well, I don't know the person, but it was just like, what? Like, you can literally connect with someone, find something out, and then, you know, then it comes a battle of who do you trust more? Do you trust the person you kind of just maybe added, who it could be innocent, or do you trust the people who have a because everyone can lie, and it's very easy to lie. And when it comes to damaging reputations, look at any review of any restaurant or anything like that, and you'll see that it's easy to embellish what happened and turn it into a whole bigger thing. And we know when we're angry over something and we were writing a review, it would sound a lot worse than it actually is. So you have to kind of be careful in how you're dealing with like viewing people online. But Companies House, duedeal.com, I believe, are free ways of doing your diligence. But, you know, if you're like thinking about doing a course with someone, or, you know, you're thinking about, I don't know, spending some money with someone, apart from all the legal checks and the contracts and things you should have, just type their name into like Property Tribes or Property 118. Property Tribes love to talk about other people. Whether it's factual or opinion, I don't really know, but it's a forum and forums can be very interesting. Have a look, you know, do they appear in there? And don't just read the first post. Oh, this person's a scammer. Oh, they're a scammer. Read the comments, read if they've replied, because there's plenty of cases where someone said, oh, someone owes me 700 grand and we ain't been paid back. And then the person comments and says it's all in hand. A week later, the post has disappeared. You know, they're all happy and it's all sorted, you know? So it's easy when you get in your feelings to pick this up and be like, oh, fuck the world, fuck Magnet Kitchens. But no, seriously, fuck Magnet Kitchens, etc. But actually, you know, it's easier well, it's not easier, but it's better not to do it. Would you say, James?
Yes. I think I agree with you, man.
Is there anything else? Listen, Aaron, Magnet Kitchens are great. I'm not going to lie. But every new branch I deal with, we have a fight. It's like animals. You know, when they meet each other on the Serengeti and they attack just to be like, oh, cool. I know how strong you are. I know your level. Always fucking happens. So I just had a fight with one of them. It was the weirdest fight ever. And now we're friends and they're ordering all my kitchens with the discount that I now get. I deserve. So
you're just a bully though.
No, I'm not. I'm very polite, okay? No, it was cultural.
A polite bully.
No, it was cultural differences, because when we spoke on the phone, he was like, oh, blah, 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 you're really lovely, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like, I've said this to you. So, like, it's cultural differences. If I sent an email like that to someone in London, they would just be like, yeah, cool, what's up, carry on. But because it's different, they didn't get it. And now we're friends. So that's fine. And also they were trying to give me the incorrect discount. So yeah, I'm not a bully, you little shit. Do I use LMPG? Go on.
Maybe you should pay for an LMPG membership and you'll get the correct discount.
No, I don't use LMPG. I get a better discount by going direct.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Okay, after this, we'll compare quotes. I'll send you a quote.
Okay.
But also, like, you with trade, you can be a bit more like flexible on, like, with LMPG there's a set price, but with trade it's a price that you can, you know what I mean, you can kind of work out. So yeah, to be honest, Howdens, Magnet, they all mess up orders, they all make mistakes, which they shouldn't make, but they're human. So yeah, that's fine, we have to just accept it. Oh, thanks. Everyone's putting such lovely comments in the chat. You're all so polite. Wow. Ruby says, what's wrong with calling people out? Absolutely nothing. Like, I think when it's a company, and when it's a company who claim to be good and win all these awards and stuff, and they don't listen to direct feedback, then I think there's something to do. I don't do it straight away. If I go feedback and they don't do anything, I go complain, they don't do anything, then I do it. I mean, I've had the Twitter from Magnet lie to the store about what I said, and then I screenshotted it from Twitter and said, hey lads, this is what I actually said to your Twitter team. And they were like, oh, they conveniently missed out half the message. And I was like, yeah. So, you know, they were fighting me over something their Twitter team told them that wasn't actually true. So in these situations, obviously I'm going to be like, what are you playing at? Like, that's not right. So I agree. 𝗯𝗵𝗲 𝗣𝗿, most certified name I've ever known, says proper, innit? He needs to go gym though, innit? John Lee's a bit, yeah. I've been teaching him.
He's wearing away a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah. He said Ted will be the first one to beef the restaurant when his order is wrong, not his wife. That is very correct. If my order, I won't beef, like, if it's a good order and I'll eat it, but if it's not cooked, then I will politely say, buddy, it's not cooked. Can you give me a £200 voucher, please? Thanks. No, I'm joking. Only a £100 voucher. Come on, I'm not an animal. There's another question. Oh, I'm waiting for the... Okay, Mohit, that is off topic, so we'll answer it at the end. That's okay, Mohit. So just remember to ask at the end, and we'll answer it. Shaz said, Tej, I was bricking it when Tej came to his burger shop for a burger. You know what? Why don't you tell everyone what I thought about your burger place for you little shits in the chat? Fucking What? His burgers are actually very good. Like, I have to say, if you're ever in Newport in Wales, for whatever reason, go to Burger & Co. It's on the edge of the high street, just before you get into the ghetto. Beautiful sign. The food is the halloumi fries. Banging. So, James, is there anything else we want to cover on social media or the dark side? Or does anyone in the chat have any questions about social media and the dark side before we go on to the auction escapage?
I think my last bit of advice on that would be just don't believe everything you see, because a lot of it is bollocks. Yeah, a lot of it is nonsense. Anyone, I say this to so many people nowadays, anyone can have a flash car. If you've got 3 or 4 grand kicking about each month, you can have a lease car that's a 300 grand car, and it's going to cost you 4 grand a month. If you've got a decent enough property portfolio where you think, you know what, that's probably the income from 2 or 3 HMOs, and you can afford to put it on a car, you can look like a big baller. You know, somebody hasn't gone out there and physically laid down 300 grand on the car. If they have, they're totally bonkers. So I always say, don't believe what you see. And you know what? Something yesterday, TJ, I was speaking to TJ yesterday, he's on the call, and something TJ was saying about inspiring people. If you've got something nice, you know, like we were talking about watches, if you've got a 10 grand watch, 20 grand watch, someone who's coming up below you or someone who's aspiring to be in property, let them wear that watch, let them feel it, let them see what it feels like to have that on your wrist, and then let them work backwards on how they achieve that thing. That was something really good he said, because I was the same with the cars. If I used to rock up at a service station and you got all the kids going, oh, that's so nice car, it's like, come and have a sit in it, do what you want, you know, it's there, rev up the engine, just don't drive it as a 10-year-old around the car park, obviously. But you know, I always say you should share your nice things with people, you know, because there was a time when you didn't have that, and there was a time when you were looking at that guy who had that thinking, you know what, I wish I had that, I wish I had that. And if someone's nice enough to share it for you, you've created that feeling for them to know what it feels like to have it. And you may have just inspired that person to be the next Elon Musk, or be the next Bill Gates, or be someone, you know, fantastic in their life. So share the wealth, share the love.
That is a very lovely sentiment to end this chapter on. We have a quick question though from Roger and Gil. How concerned are you with engagement, likes, etc. when posting? Does it affect the content you post? Not necessarily the dark side, but I'm fussed to the extent that it's a good way to measure what your audience like and what goes down well. It doesn't matter to me how many I get, or, you know, whatever, but it's a good barometer, rough barometer of what are people liking, what are people's trends, what are they thinking. So yeah, does it affect the content? Yeah, as in, if something consistently is getting like no likes, but I'm like, well, people don't want to see this, they're not learning from it or liking it, so let me switch it up. So it does affect it in the long run, but you need at least 20 posts before you can do some analytics and really get down to it. Probably more.
I don't give a monkeys. I post what I want to post. Yeah,
it shows. So the next topic, before we go on, is anyone here on TikTok? Because I wanted to show everyone something about how nuts this platform is. I'm a superstar, by the way. If anyone's not following me, Tej Talks at me, baby. Because, I don't want to see Gordon fucking Ramsay, you bastard. So, so I posted a video, yeah? And it was just a tour of my house, yeah? Obviously the song is banging, but it's a tour. And look, the video's shit. It just says, £28,000 purchase. It's worth 75. Yes, it was clickbaity. Yes, I was doing that. It's TikTok. I got 6,500 views. And then I've got 154 likes and 51 comments. This platform is cray-cray for engagement. I wasn't even dancing. I wasn't even doing anything cool. It was a video. I didn't even take the video myself, of a freaking house, like with 15 seconds of a good song on. If you want reach and you want to like get yourself out there more, and you're thinking, oh, Instagram and Facebook so saturated, which is not, just get on TikTok. You don't have to make music videos. You can just make normal talking videos. So, you know, I'm now going to sell a course on how to blow up on TikTok, because I have one video that has a few thousand likes. I believe I'm fully qualified. If you think I'm not, then you're a hater. So I'm joking, for anyone who can't see my face right now. Right, that's TikTok. I just want to announce, obviously I'm a superstar now on TikTok. So please follow me. I will be dancing soon as well. So, you know, get ready for some vibes. James, the next point is yours. Before we start talking about auction purchases, I just want to give people some 2 minutes of knowledge on auction purchases. Once you've exchanged, you have legally exchanged contracts. Now, after this point, you can pull out, you can do whatever you like, but you will lose your exchange 10% or more. You'll lose that money. You don't even think about getting it back, generally speaking, and you'll lose your auction fees. But now, one thing that people maybe don't know is, let's say you bought a house, easy maths, for 100. So you lose your 10 grand, your fees, blah, blah, blah. And then what happens is, let's say I pull out of the deal and James was selling it to me for 100 grand. In a month, he puts it back in auction, or he finds a buyer, and that buyer says, I'm gonna give you 150 for it. Again, a bit unrealistic, but easy maths. I'm gonna give you 150 for it. Let's say the buyer comes now and gives him 60. Let's say it's a month later, James is desperate. The mortgage is about to get repossessed. You know, someone comes along and says, I'm giving you 60 for it, but I was gonna buy it 100. There's a 40K difference. James is well within his rights and auction terms to sue me for the difference. So yeah, I've pulled out. I've only lost 10 grand. Oh, I've saved my ass. No, you haven't. Because when that letter comes from the seller and says, hi, here's proof of exchange at a lower price, I'm suing you for the difference. There's not a lot you can do in a general, thing when the legal pack is fine. Generally speaking, you should not pull out of an auction purchase. You're not liable for only your deposit. You're liable for the difference that they could sell it for. Just be very wary of this, because I've heard it has happened, rarely because people don't pull out, but it can happen. And if you're in London and you're buying stuff, your deposit's big and the difference could be pretty big. And there's nothing to stop the seller, if they really want to, getting their mate to bid it up and then eventually push someone else into a higher price to then make more money. Or to, there's nothing to stop them selling it privately for a lower price to their uncle and to you to pay the difference, if you get what I'm saying. So you are at the mercy of the gods. So try not to pull out. However, James managed the great escape.
It certainly was the great escape for me, man. I tell you. So you talk about buying a property for 28 grand. I actually bought one for 24. So I beat you by 4 grand. Does that mean I'll get 12,000 views if I put that on TikTok?
Maybe,
it was worth about the same as well.
Maybe if you got the right level of sauce, then maybe, yeah. Listen, if you take my course, you can pay with credit card. Amex, I accept Amex. I'll teach you through it in the 7-step method. Don't worry, bro. I got you.
So anyway, getting back to this auction purchase, it's been a nightmare. So basically, I bought this just at the beginning of COVID-19, and it's just been an ongoing, saga of events. So this Friday, last Friday, we were due to complete on it. Funds were sent across to the solicitor and everything was running nicely. I knew there was a few issues with the headline lease, and the lease was short on it, so I was well aware of that. I knew it wasn't in the nicest of areas, so it would have been a harder let, but I was confident I'd get it let. And at 24 grand, it's not a lot of money if you think about it for a 3-bed place. Anyway, so we're all ready to do what we need to do. And I get a call half an hour before the funds are about to be released, and the solicitor goes to me, look, James, do you know that they have just sent us a letter saying, well, obviously I didn't know because he was telling me at the time, he goes, there is an issue with the lease where they're trying to get the lease revoked from the freeholder, which would then mean that this flat had no lease or whatever, and it would have pretty much been worthless. And the case had gone so far down the line that it was already in court. And I'm thinking, oh shit, man, what have I done here? Not only didn't I lead the legal pack, I'm now going to buy something that's going to be non-existent if the judge decides to revoke the lease. Thinking, shit, I'm going to own a house that's not even mine. So cut a long story short, in the end, what happened was the other side submit this letter through saying, oh, look, we swear to God, we absolutely swear we did not know about this. We didn't know about this. We only found out like an hour ago. And you think to yourself, oh man, I'm not wet behind the ears here. This has gone to county court. There's a judge's name assigned to it, which means it must have taken several months to get to court. So now the issue was we had to prove that they were lying. Because on the TR6 form, you know that TR6 form, everybody, when you buy a house and it says you're going to get the light switchings, you're getting this, you're getting the washing machine. Of course, everybody reads it, right?
Yes, line for line.
Yeah, some people don't. They just flick through it. I actually read the TR6 on this one. So there's a little point in the TR6 form where they say, do you know of any disputes related to this property? And these guys have put a big fat no, which was an absolute lie. So anyway, my solicitor, this is what I say to you, pay for a decent solicitor, you know, get yourself a decent solicitor. Legal advice, I think, is worth its weight in gold. So my solicitor that I've been working for for quite a long time, he's basically got them to make admission that they knew there was issues with this. Now, he's gone about it roundabout the ways how he's asked the questions. And they've basically come back in their email reply saying, yes, we knew there was a dispute a few years ago, but we thought it'd been sorted out. And we knew there was a dispute with the neighbors, but we didn't know if we didn't have any dispute with them. So we're okay to complete. But the question said, do you know of any disputes related to this property or any surrounding properties that relate to the dispute? So the minute they put that down in there, obviously when my solicitor rang their solicitor, he goes like the tone just completely changed because the other side solicitor knew that the party had just shot themselves in the foot. So we're thinking, okay, they're still holding our money. They still got our money. They still got our auction fees. And this wasn't 10%. This was higher. So they had like $5,000 of our money and about $1,200 for the auction fees. So anyway, solicitor writes them an email saying, look, you guys have fraudulently put information down on the TR6 form and we're going to do you for damages, costs, etc., etc. And they were like, okay, how can we resolve this? Solicitor goes back and says, I want this contract pretty much terminated straight away. I want all my clients' money back and I want my fees covered. So I thank the lucky stars. I thank the gods up there that I was able to exit out of a bad situation, because I'm thinking to myself, damn, man, how am I going to explain this to my wife that I've just bought a place that isn't actually a place and I've just given someone all this money for nothing? So yeah, that was the great auction escape.
Lessons from that: good solicitor, preferably when you're buying leasehold, get them to read the legal pack before as well, which we've said a lot. But also, like, let's say your solicitor wasn't shit hot, let's say he was average and it went through, just so people are not overly, well, you should still be worried, but solicitors have insurance to protect them and to pay out in cases like this. So if something like this happened, the chances are you could take your solicitor to court and it could be pretty clear cut in terms of your victory and them paying out. So just know that there are levels of, cover. That's why solicitors cost so much as well. Their insurance is so expensive and their reputation. I mean, can you imagine if James's solicitor went through with it and James had a piece of paper which was worth nothing and had keys which opened nothing? That would be, that solicitor's reputation would be done, and you could potentially report them to the SRA or the CLC potentially for like some sort of break-in of, I don't know, trust or good oath. So just remember, you are also protected by their insurance in times like this. But I mean, I don't know a single person who's got out of an auction purchase.
You do now.
So, I mean, 𝗵𝗲 delivers again, people. You know what I mean? So, but I don't want people to think you can just run out of auction purchases. If they're legally bad and something's totally fucked up in this case, then you can. But also, this could also highlight, look, even if you do have a good solicitor, it's still good for you to understand every aspect of your business. But with legals, just to understand certain terms and the certain legal logic. And because even if your solicitor's good, you still want to be asking the questions like, what does that mean? Hold on, doesn't that mean, because sometimes they will just be going through their cases, their files, and not necessarily paying as much attention, especially if it's an auction purchase and you've said, yeah, I've read the legals, happy days, carry on. So, and that's another thing, always get them to read the legals on an auction. So if you've exchanged, I know it's sort of too late, but still say to them, look, could you just take a look at the legal pack anyway? Because I've been asked that before and I said, it's the same cost, just have a look at it. I want it under your insurance that you've said it's cool. So little things like that you can do to stop that. Right. Oh, fucking hell, that was my knee. So has anyone got any questions? Because we have covered all of the topics for today. James, you know, every Thursday I forget that we have this at 10 a.m. because for the last 3 weeks I've had podcasts booked in at like 10:30 a.m. or like 11, and the night before I'm like, no way, every Thursday is the same thing because it's not in my diary. But I do look forward to it, I must say.
You need to put it in as a reoccurring event, don't you?
Yeah, maybe I thought it wouldn't last that long, so I was like, oh, it's fine, yeah. Like when people buy puppies for Christmas and then they give them away, you horrible people.
Man, listen, I've got a funeral next week and I'm running to the funeral, getting it over and done with, so I'm back for the podcast. That's dedication.
Respect. So has anyone got any questions? I think Mohit is going to ask one on camera if he's around. If anyone else has any questions, let us know. We'll take questions for like a few minutes if we want to. And Mohit, I think you've unmuted yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, greeting. Well, you cold, mate. You're right.
Yeah, mate, freezing. No, it's the hair, right? So just trying to cover it up.
What is your question for us, good sir?
Okay, perfect. So I managed to secure my first investor finance. He's 50K into a deal.
Big up.
Yeah, thank you, man. Took a few weeks though, but
yeah.
But it is what it is, and I'm glad that it's done now. So I'm actually going to buy the house cash.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thinking how I would go, you know, and how I word this to my 𝗪𝗶𝗀𝗄𝗧. I've only ever bought for a personal name, but this will be for a limited company. I'm assuming it will just be a standard, like a loan agreement, or would I declare it as a gift, or what would I tell them?
James, do you want to answer? Shall I?
You can answer this. I'll come in after.
So the best thing to do is just basically to do a loan agreement from, preferably, and I'll tell you why in a second, their limited company to your limited company, but
Yeah.
sort of it can go two ways. They can transfer you the money to your account, or they might prefer to do it straight to the solicitors. What you have to do is sign the loan agreement with the person, and that can be done with or without solicitors. They're just going to look at it and say, yeah, whatever. Then send that to the solicitors, introduce the solicitors to the investor and say, here's the investor, here's the loan agreement. They will then run their checks on that investor, 6 months bank statements, proof of address, proof of ID, and they can run some AML and KYC checks online for like a few pounds, I think, with their searches platform. So let them do that. That's just important to make sure they're not money laundering or they're not like a narco, for example.
Of course.
Once you've done that, the best way, and most listers will kind of be like, yeah, cool. You know, like, we understand. The ones I have, they're just like, yeah, whatever, just introduce us. We know how you work. They then loan you the money or give it to the solicitor directly, and that's it. So it's purely a loan. You don't want to gift it, because if I was an investor, no way in hell would I gift my money to someone, because legally I've let go of it. And, you know what I mean? I have no claim to it. It's no longer a business transaction loan. The reason you should do it company to company is if you do it company to person, like, so if you did like Mohit to Mohit Limited, when you then pay the investor back as a person, you have to give 20% of their interest payment to HMRC and fill out a CT61 form. Who wants to fill out the form? Who wants to give someone's interest to HMRC? Because they then have to call HMRC and say, I want to claim my interest. And HMRC are going to say, all right, well, when you do your tax statement, we'll see, and we'll give you how much we think you deserve. When that's not maybe how they want to handle their tax affairs. So always keep it limited to limited. It just makes life a lot easier. Look, if the person doesn't want to do a company and they're happy with you giving 20% and which they can claim back, sort of, fine. But it's a loan agreement, and it's a limited to limited loan agreement.
Fine. And obviously when I want to pay it back, I'll just pay it back to the limited company, and that's it. And just sort of cut our ties and hopefully go again.
Exactly. Yes. It's a business to business agreement. Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
No problem. Sorry, Mohit. My only last advice on that would be, I know you mentioned obviously off this call that it was from a family member, an uncle. Even if it's a family member, or uncle, even if it's your mum, your dad, I would definitely say make sure you got an agreement there and a contract in place.
Yeah.
Don't do any gentleman's handshakes, because, like I always say, when money's involved, things get sour, and you want to lose a friend, lend them some money. So just remember that, man. Make sure it's watertight.
Feel you. Thank you, man. Cheers.
100%.
No worries.
And then we got TJ has a question. TJ, jump on camera. I know you love being on camera.
Yo, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How's it going, people? You all right?
Good, thanks.
Good, mum.
Good. Quick question. So, obviously, I don't know. I was going to say obviously, but so I've got a commercial conversion that I'm in the process of doing. Purchase, sitting there. I'm trying to find credible builders. I'm meeting with a few of them, and they all chatting shit. They all want the business. We're getting all sorts of ranges. People saying 65k for the conversion to someone else saying 150,000, and they're all just chatting shit. The truth is, I can't afford to make a mistake. So I'm happy to sit on it because, as I said, it still pays me because I've got commercial tenants. But what kind of DD are you guys doing? How are you reassured that the builder is the right person? A bunch of them have got reviews, but at the same time, as we know, some of our gurus fake their reviews online. So again, I'm not too sure. Second question, while we're there, I was about to post it. Bought the commercial in a personal name. I wanted to find out if I could set up a company to pay out the cost of the work to the builders because they're VAT registered, and then claim back my VAT.
James, who do you want to answer? Shall I answer?
I'll jump on that question about the due diligence on the builders for you, TJ. So I recently finished a new build, and like you, mate, you get builders chatting so much shit. I had like 100 grand differences in prices, and I actually got burnt by my first builder. So what I would say to you, mate, is number one, what I did was, I know people fake their reviews, but I jumped onto 𝗪𝗶𝗪𝗶𝗪𝗶𝗪𝗏. I posted the job out there, and I had a lot of people replying. Now I kind of homed it down to say 5 builders on there that had masses of reviews. I did also go with people that had negative reviews because, you know, you get somebody, that one person who chats shit and just makes their reviews look all nonsense. But what I did was, when I got it down to the last 3 builders, I made sure they provided me with about 5 jobs. And then I said to them, I want 10 numbers of people that you have done work for. I didn't give them a choice of giving me 3 references. And I said, I want 10 because I'm going to randomly call people off that list. I didn't let them kind of pre-warn people and say, hey, Dave, James is going to call you. Can you tell him that I'm fantastic and I'll give you a monkey for doing so? So when I started calling the builders, when I started calling the previous people they did work for, it soon became apparent who was a good guy and who was just chatting shit. And the way I made my decision was, the last person the last builder that I homed it down to, when I rang one of his contacts, he was a guy from Dubai, and he said to me, he goes, look, this builder is so good. He goes, in fact, he doesn't cause me any problems. I cause him problems by changing stuff, by putting things in last minute. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've rang 3 people on the list and they've all said the same thing about this guy. I then ended up ringing everybody on that list just to make sure I had the right guy. And then he provided me with works that I could go and see. Again, I went to see those jobs without the builder. I didn't want him there because I didn't want him to pre-warn anybody on what was going on, because I wanted to see stuff. I wanted to walk around, tap on the walls, see how he's finished skirting off, how he's done stuff. You know, little things. Is that sitting straight? Has he done that nice? Has he got attention to detail? And I think that's how I made my decision. So I wouldn't rule my builder out. It's just, don't go off what they're telling you. You need to go off and do your own homework, man. Become Sherlock Holmes for the day and go and see what they're doing.
I think to add to that, TJ, are you giving them a spec of works, or are you saying, here's some walls, make it into a thing?
Yeah, here's some walls, make it into a thing.
Okay, so what I'd say is that's a good way to get a builder to give you a rough quote, and that's kind of where the range comes from. But I think you need to get on site if you can. Maybe take I don't know, maybe take videos and pictures of it to ask Facebook as well for some help. But go around and literally compare whatever you have there, compare it to your house and say, okay, what do I need to put in this to make it my house? Literally top to bottom, corner to corner. Okay, is it skirting? Is it laminate? Is it walls? If there's bricks, okay, we need insulation. We need damp proofing. We need plasterboarding. We need electrics. We need new gas central heating. Write down everything you think you need. And then maybe, like, you know, what we said, take someone for coffee, for Nando's when we can, or Zoom call and say, look, this is what I think I need for a commercial conversion. There's a few books on commercial conversions as well. But what ideally you want is to say to a builder, especially a new one you don't know, here's your spec. I don't want to see any extra shit unless you think it's vital, put it separately. this is what I want you to do. You know, what is your price? Because that way they're not saying, oh, you might need this geezer, you might need that. They're just saying, oh, you want, and some builders will be like, nah, don't do that. They piss off then. So make that spec for them. I do specs now that are very top level, new boiler, new bathroom, because I've worked with these builders for a while. But first time, and to an extent, very detailed, skirting in every room. Like, you want it to be like, oh my God, you know, every detail. Because then what you can do is you get 3 quotes and you can line by line compare what have they charged. And then it makes more sense to you instead of what the hell is all this stuff? But yeah, what James said, do what James said, and then but give them a spec to go off. And I'll type this into the chat. There's a guide called SPONS, I think it's called. And there's a few others which are like national pricing guidelines for how much parts of a refurb should cost. I think you can get it for free. It's a big old like book. Have a look at that and compare it to like national averages and things like that. But yeah, it is tough. And with a big project like this, you may even have different teams. You may say, I'm going to get a plumbing team to plumb it, Sparkies to do the electrics. You know, it all depends. You know, if I had a project down the road from me, I'd probably use a few different teams. Because it's far away, I use one big team. Does that help?
Is that because they charge differently as opposed to giving someone the whole work and they've priced it to do everything?
Sometimes like the master builder will then take off, he'll cream off the plumber and the Sparky and just take it off. Or they'll just charge more because they're like, well, I'm doing it all. Or they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to charge you more. Whereas you said to a Sparky, here's a house. They're just going to charge you for that. So, and some builders have cheaper electricians, but really expensive plasterers and vice versa. So sometimes you have to like split it. Like all my gas work is done by someone else and all my carpets are done by someone else, just how it works out.
So I'm being quoted by some of the builders for, sorry to take up so much time, for rewiring. So again, would it make sense maybe to find someone else that can rewire, find out what they're charging as opposed to lumping it in? Call an electrician with the same sort of way that James did and get them in and say, give me the cost of rewiring this and how many sockets you're going to put in and how do you work out your price and then go from there.
You know, just to add to that, just to add to that, TJ, what I would say is, man, you know, treat everybody like they're stupid. Don't leave anything to assumption, because something that might be common sense to you, to a builder might not be common sense, because they, for some reason, builders seem to speak a different language. You know, they speak English, but they speak a different language. So don't leave anything to assumption. Be very, very clear on what you want. If you want, you know, if you want skirting that's 200 mil deep, say it's 200 mil deep, because what you'll find is they'll go there and they'll put 100 mil deep skirting there, and inside your head you're going to be thinking, you know what, I thought that, but did I tell him? I was thinking that, but he didn't pick up on it. And then you got to take a step back and think, you know what, he ain't a mind reader. He ain't reading what you're thinking. So don't leave anything to assumption. And also what I'd say is, how much time are you going to be spending on site? Are you project managing this, or are you getting someone to do it?
I live around the corner, so I can literally, I'd love to put a sleeping bed in there and just sleep in there. Work it.
See, if you're project managing it, then maybe you should look at bringing the trades teams in from different, you know, if you bring the Sparkies in, bring the plumbers in, and bring different trades in, and you just manage it, because I think that way you're going to have far more control over the cost, rather than, like Ted said, you give it to a master builder. Because I had this, I gave my last one to a master builder, and when I'm talking to the Sparky, he's saying, oh, your bill's 2,200, and the builder's got it down on the quote as 3,000 something. I'm thinking, hey, what's going on here? You know, so if you can manage it yourself and you've got a load of time, and you put together a detailed spec of work, then I would say, try and farm it out, man, because that's the way you're going to really get your costs down. Okay.
Agreed. Well, what was your second question? Was about can you set up?
So of course the builders are charging VAT. So even on the 150k job, it's 30k on VAT. So I was thinking setting up a company to pay out the work and then claiming back the VAT. But again,
yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. If you set up a limited company, which is, you know, TJ Refurbs Limited, and whether it's investor money in there or it's you doing a director's loan into the company and paying it, I don't see a problem with that. I'm not an accountant. It's not financial advice. But I believe they can also charge you 5% VAT, not 20. There's a certain condition. Aaron in this chat might know the condition.
You need to see what the project, where does the project fall? Because for me, because mine was a new build, I was 0 VAT rated on that. and there's certain projects that are 5%. So you need to find out what the tax rate is for your project. And also, I think you need to be aware. I think there's a set period of time that you need to get your VAT claim in by, and there's certain things you need to be doing along the line on preparing all the stuff for the VAT claim, because I know someone had a little bit of difficulty. So 100% get that checked out, man, so that you're filing everything correctly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Oh, lastly.
Go on.
Since I got you guys. So all these builders have got insurance. Do their insurance stand for anything? Does it mean anything?
James, have you had an experience with insurance?
Yes, they've got to have proper professional indemnity insurance there, man. Because if something goes wrong, if the house falls down, while they're building it, and it damages somebody else's property, you don't want that hanging over your head. Yeah. I was doubly sure. I made sure he had professional indemnity insurance. Then I made sure my company had proper, like £20 million professional indemnity insurance, just in case something went wrong. And for the sake of £200 or £300 or whatever it is, I'd make sure cover your ass doubly, especially if it's a bigger build. Something goes wrong, you got the insurance there.
Brilliant, guys. Thank you so much. So what was that? Aaron said, or commercial to residential. What was that in?
Have a chat with him separately about that. He knows he's doing that at the moment. So amazing, James. I believe we have reached the end of the show.
Yep.
I'm hungry. So, right. Thank you everyone for coming on today, and thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Please tell your friends, bring a friend, the property duo and that. Every Thursday, 10 a.m. It's not just for lockdown, it's for life, or until we get to know each other.
Also, guys, if you wouldn't mind taking a picture of your screen and tagging.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, you told me to say that. Everyone, please. Me and James are gonna pose. Yeah. Have people done the pictures? Yeah, we good? We ready? Right, cool. Thank you very much. This will be released as a podcast episode in like 4 weeks. So
shut up. We're gonna have some beef online here.
Thanks for attending, everyone. See you next Thursday.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.